What is your favorite Scarlet and Violet set that's come out? I want you to type that in the comments right now. Mine happens to be the newest set, Twilight Masquerade. Let's get into it. This video is just a check-in on every single one of the Scarlet and Violet booster boxes and just the prices that they are at right now, some of the chase cards that are in that set. Once again, started off with the Twilight Masquerade. This actually, I think, is my favorite set from the Scarlet and Violet era. I really like Blood Moon Ursa Luna. I found a shiny Teddy Ursa in my playthrough of Legends Arceus. Since then, just love that Pokemon. And Crimson Haze, I was really a fan of when it came out. That's the Japanese equivalent to this set, or one of the Japanese equivalents, because it's made up of that and the Teal Mask Ogerpon set. Obviously, I love the Greninja. I really do. And the Sinistcha. So the Twilight Masquerade booster box sitting at $101 for this whole box. The drawback is it has pretty hard to hit pull rates, not the best in the Scarlet and Violet generation. But you see it's from its pre-release standings, it came out at 5/25, so May 25th. So the May 25th data has it for like $100 a box. Pre-release it was up at like 130, but don't recommend buying anything really at that price for a pre-release. But moving on, checking out some of the highest value cards in that set, the most expensive ones. The Greninja EX has gone absolutely insane since release. Usually during release dates, we're supposed to see a drop during, more packs are being opened, more single cards are being flooded out onto the market. And its original price was at like 140. I think it dropped down to 110 and is now sitting at $161. Prices could be different since when I'm making this video because it's pretty volatile, or there's a lot of movement, I should say, with this guy. But what seems to be the case is people open up this set. They realize that the pull rates were a lot harder, so less Greninjas are being open than thought, so pushing up the price point. That or some market manipulation. You really can't ever tell these days. Carmine sitting at $127 for a copy of the card. Perrin at $81. Blood Moon Ursa Luna sitting at $57 for a copy of the card. Eevee, our first illustration rare here, is at $44. And Ogerpon, the Teal Mask variant, at $44. The Teal Mask one is actually a competitive card as well. Moving on to Temporal Forces, a set that released before Twilight Masquerade. And this guy's sitting at $106 for a booster box, coming up from like $101, $102 over the past few weeks. Some chase cards in this set are the Raging Bolt, which is now at like $100 for a copy. Iron Crown EX at 70, Walking Wake at 50-ish, 47. Morty's Conviction at 45, Gouging Fire EX at 40, and the Iron Leaves at 38. These guys are all special illustration rare copies of the card. The Raging Bolt is also competitive and has seen crazy price growth. This is originally like a $55 card for a long time, really shot up in price as of recent, since Twilight Masquerade release. Paradox Rift sitting at $101 for a booster box. This guy was what seems to be below or at around wholesale pricing. It was at 92 6 months ago, went down to like probably like 89, and I think wholesale is like $87 for a copy or a box of Paradox Rift. And has now climbed all the way up to $101, making some good gains. And what's interesting is some of these cards in the set have started to gain a little bit of traction, with the Roaring Moon and Groudon really coming up in price. The Roaring Moon, I did a video last week saying it's a great opportunity to pick it up. I thought the price was actually going to dip a little bit more, but it was sitting at like $52 for a copy of Roaring Moon and is now back up to $65 pretty much within the week. I don't know what's going on there, but I kind of bummed. I'm hoping the Roaring Moon kind of goes back down so I could pick up a lot of it. I want like 3 copies, pimp out a whole binder row. That'd be pretty sweet. I just love Salamence. Groudon is now at $60, and I think that's almost close to double in price. It was at like 40 or like 35-ish. So we're seeing a lot of price movement in Paradox Rift. Is it natural? Is it organic? I can't really say. Our next one, Obsidian Flames. That's right, the old Charizard set, the old Charizard Terra set. It is sitting at $102 for a booster box. Pretty fun set though. Like aside from all the Charizards, it had some pretty good pull rates. Just fun to open and get like some silly special illustration rares like that. Ice Cube is just so goofy. I love him, but he's not one of the most expensive cards. Most expensive cards, surprise, surprise, mostly Charizard. The special illustration rare sitting at just under $50. The gold one sitting at $18. Pidgeot EX, which has some competitive viability. The special illustration rare sitting at 10, and just the regular EX sitting at 9, which is kind of funny. Like if I was gonna pick up a Pidgeot EX for my deck, I would just pick up the special illustration rare one. Like why not? If it's like not even $1 more than just like the regular EX. So pretty interesting there. The Charizard EX regular Terra one is at $8, and the Ninetales, one of the most beautiful illustration rares of the entire Scarlet and Violet era, sitting at $7 for a copy of that card. Next set, second Scarlet and Violet set released, Paldea Evolved. And this set was actually, it's done really good. It's done really well. And is there a little bit of like the hype train and FOMO? Absolutely. Do I think the set could get reprinted? 100%. This is one of the most printed sets in Pokemon history, like following right after Scarlet and Violet base. Just to meet more demand, they acquired those new printing facilities. It was going to be like pretty overpopulated. And I think at $128 a box, I think it can really come down. You see it 3 months ago sitting at just under $110. Now, if there's a reprint, it'll probably move the price downwards. Will there be a reprint? I think it's safe to say that there's definitely a possibility, as it's just about a year old of a box, still in rotation for competitive play. Definitely. Some of the top cards, the Magikarp now at 109, about to break 110. The Iono SIR at 77. The Tyranitar has actually made a huge gain. This guy was sitting at like a $20 card for the longest time. Now at $45. The Raichu was, I believe, like an $18 to $25 card, somewhere in that range, now at $43. So huge price growth. Chen Pao EX competitive card right there, but a beautiful special illustration as well, sitting at $27. And Super Rod competitive card, $23 for a gold copy of the card. Now, for the last main series set, we're also going to be covering some of the holiday sets that Scarlet and Violet has put out thus far. But Scarlet and Violet base sitting at $97 for a booster box. This guy actually did go far below the wholesale price, with a lot of deals on TikTok having this thing for like $60, $70. But a few months ago, it was down to like $85, a few dollars below wholesale, and has now climbed up to a $97 booster box. Now, this is probably like one of the most exciting base sets, I think, in a while. I believe like the fact that there's alternate arts and like a base set, like Sword and Shield base set, that was when I first got back into opening up Pokemon cards. It had like trainers and a rainbow that I pulled and I was really happy about. Shout out Professor Magnolia, Professor Research, rainbow copy. Um, but some of these most expensive cards are not like rainbows. There's no more rainbows in the Scarlet and Violet era. They're all um, special illustration rare. So like alternate art copies, with the Miriam sitting at $33, the Gardevoir EX at 28, Miraidon EX at about 20, and a few competitive cards, Rare Candy and Nest Ball from 12 and $15, and Arvin, the special illustration rare, at $12.50. So for a base set, obviously pretty cheap for the booster box, pretty cheap for some of the chases, but they're great chases. Like I really do like that Gardevoir EX personally. I like the Miraidon. I like the Koraidon a lot. I think the Koraidon's one of the best special illustration rares to this day that Scarlet and Violet has put out. But moving on to some of the holiday sets, we have Paldean Fates, the shiny set. This is the ETB because there's no booster box equivalent in these holiday sets. So I figured I'd go over the ETB and then some of the chase cards. So sitting at $38, this guy's just gradually come down as more and more product being put out. Price is obviously going to drop. Now let's take a look at some of the most expensive cards in the set. First up, the Charizard EX SIR at 110. The Mew, the shiny Mew, the Bubble Mew, absolutely gorgeous at 88. And the Gardevoir EX at $49. That's crazy that the Gardevoir EX is like $49 for a shiny special illustration rare. I don't know. That seems, it could be an opportunity, honestly, especially if that price point goes down. Very well could be. You got some of the baby shinies like Pikachu and Charmander in there, and the Iono SIR at $28 for a copy. So still a pretty healthy set. Got cards like Charizard and Mew really holding up a good chunk of that value. And some baby shinies as well, like that Pikachu, $35. So pretty interesting to see, but I really do love those special illustration rares, the shiny alternate arts. Waiting on that for a minute now. And moving on to Scarlet and Violet 151. This guy is sitting at $63 for an ETB. Come on, that's crazy. $63 for an ETB that released not even, it's like 9 months ago, maybe even like 8 months ago for this ETB. $63 is insane. Um, I hope that there's a reprint of this because that's just crazy for where you can get them at $45, $50 for an ETB a few months ago, and once again has now gone up to $63. Looking at the top chase card from the set, the only thing more expensive than that ETB is the Charizard EX at $120 for a copy. And you have the Blastoise, Venusaur, Zapdos, Alakazam special illustration rares for literally less than the cost of an ETB, which is honestly an opportunity right there. Like, I think the Venusaur one is one of the best artworks of the generation. Absolutely beautiful. Kind of reminds me of Gardenia from Crown Zenith. And you got that full art Charizard EX at $34. So there's definitely a good bit of value attached to 151, but for the ETB having that much value at $63 when there's only one card more expensive than it, pretty interesting to me. I do think it should get reprinted. Who knows? They reprinted in Japanese, so anything's possible. But that's going to do it on my checkup and check-in on Scarlet and Violet booster boxes and holiday sets. Just overall check-in in the market. If you're still here, let me know your favorite set from the Scarlet and Violet era. I'd love to know. That's pretty much it.